This is the Become the Lion podcast. If you are aiming to become the top in your industry, not second, not above average, the top, then you have come to the right place. Become the Lion will provide you with weekly insights and motivation needed from our guests on how to escape the common herd that society lives in. If you're looking to change your life, then get ready. Welcome to Become the Lion.
Hi, this is Trevor and Nicholas from Become the Lion, and today on the show we have Arian. And Arian, for our audience out there who might not know you, do you mind giving them some context on who you are and what you're doing right now?
Absolutely. My name is Arian. As you just mentioned, I'm 21 years old, and I'm a social media influencer. I'm running my Instagram page, Arian_Nay, which currently accounts over 230,000 followers. And yeah, thanks for having me, man.
And Arian, I wanted to ask you, how did you get started as an Instagram influencer?
Well, so being fully honest, it's something you don't really plan. So as for me, it was just being in holidays. I started off posting pictures of landscape, of food, and with the time, I really found my own passion for posting fashion flat lays, for posting fashion pictures. And with the increased interest of followers, my passion increased, or my willingness to post something increased, and therefore it was like a step-by-step kind of development into becoming an Instagram influencer.
When you started at the beginning to where you are now, was there anything that you had to overcome with friends and family, like laughing at you or anyone trying to hold you back?
Well, so what I did in the beginning, and that's something I can recommend to anybody who's scared to expose themselves on the internet at first. So I didn't post any pictures of myself, and my channel had a different name. So friends and family actually didn't even know about the channel. Whereas later on, I did the rebranding when I actually had the size where I felt comfortable in doing so. But what's really important is that you really don't care about what other people think, and that you do what you're passionate for. And later on, well, my mother still doesn't understand what I'm really doing, to be honest. I tell her I'm posting pictures on Instagram, people are paying me for that. She probably thinks I'm doing something with drugs or something. I don't know. But besides that, of course, you have some friends which are kind of when you tell them about it, they're kind of laughing at you and they're cringing, oh yeah, you're an Instagram influencer now when you have your first 5,000 followers or something. You're super proud and your friends are kind of laughing. But later on, after you get a certain size, they all come back to you and they ask you how you did it and act like they were always there for you and your best friends and whatnot. So yeah, I posted a quote once which said, people will see you walk on water and they say it's because you can't swim. So that means it doesn't really matter what you do. There will always people be who criticize what you do. So you better don't listen to the noise and just focus on your work. And yeah, at one point, as mentioned, they will come and ask you how you did it.
What was the experience like when you were going from just showing your products to finally showing yourself to everyone that had been following you?
Well, for me, the experience was great because I didn't know it, but it was something the market, so to say, my followers and all the brands and everything were waiting for. And that's something I didn't know. I was in continuous contact with many agents throughout my career. And I always asked them, should I rebrand myself? Should I show myself? And they said, no, don't do it because, you have such a unique way of presenting fashion on your channel with your flat lays. So that I should just stick with my unique selling proposition, right? But at one point I said, well, I will have way more marketing opportunity if I post full body shots and rebrand as a person. And I think the most successful component of that is that with showing a face, showing a name, people can actually they can identify themselves with the influencer. So if it's just products and whatnot, it's art and it's great, but as soon as there is a face, a person who smiles or talks to you, it's like way better because like as a follower, you feel like, oh, this person is way more approachable, and therefore contact is way easier. So the initial feedback also like in my direct messages, also from the like and engagement was awesome, and therefore I will keep doing it like this.
As you were growing your account, what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome?
Oh, there were many challenges. So one of the things is you don't start off with 200,000 followers, right? It's like a progress. You build it up, and sometimes you really get frustrated because on some days you get many followers and the next week you don't. And you're asking yourself, why is my work not good enough or whatever, or why are other people growing faster than I am? And I always say winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. So instead of like looking left and right, you should just yet again focus on what you're doing, because that will increase the likelihood of you being successful in the progress, right? So specific problems which occurred, for example, my biggest drawback happened I think 3 months ago, where Instagram had a big update and they deleted shell accounts. So those bot accounts, which every account gets at a certain size. So celebrities like Ariana Grande, they lost over like 400,000 followers on one day in 1 second. And for me, it was a drop of, I believe, like 40,000 followers. And on that day, I was like really disappointed. I was really sad because I thought I didn't deserve that. And yeah, I mean, it kind of like sometimes you doubt if what you're doing is right, especially if something like that happens. But you always have to keep in mind that running a business is just like having summer, winter, fall, and spring. Sometimes you have a winter where it's just not working, but like eventually there will be a fall, there will be spring, and there will be a summer again. So as an entrepreneur, you will always have to keep in mind that downs are always followed up by an up. So just carry through and really hustle through the times where it's not going that well, because if you have a lot of bad days in a row, the likelihood just increases that there will be a good day afterwards.
How did you have the confidence to keep going once you lost that 40,000 followers? Was there any doubt in your mind of thinking of giving up? You mind telling artists, just tell us what that experience was like.
Well, yeah, that definitely sucked. And I wasn't in the US for my exchange semester, where I could not post as many pictures as I normally could anyways. So that was like a big drawback. But then I contacted my clients, I informed them about that. And one of the best things was the feedback I got from my client. They said, oh, so I first told them the whole situation, showed them other accounts where it happened so they don't think like I'm a scam or whatever. So their feedback was, well, thank you first of all for your honesty and for your transparency. And that's something very important, because like they would have found out eventually later. So always be transparent and honest with your clients or your business partners. I like calling them partners instead of clients. But yeah, so the feedback of the clients or the partners was so good, and that's something that really kept me going. But also the fact that you just have to trust sometimes in your abilities and trust in the fact that good content, no matter what you do, if you provide good content, eventually you will always come out on top. So I reached out to even more clients, to even more prospects. I increased my sales funnel, contacted lots and lots and lots of clients. And actually the upcoming one was my best because I got more and more clients because I contacted more. So this is like a way you can counteract such a drawback just by working even harder and, yeah, following through with that.
And I noticed how you mentioned how important it is to create good content. And I wanted to ask you, how long does it take to create each post that you post on Instagram?
Well, that's a good question. It totally differs. So most people think Instagram is like pretty easy work, right? You take a picture, it takes you like 10 minutes, and you get paid for it. Also, that's wrong. In the beginning, it took me like an hour per picture, maybe like taking the picture, editing it, and posting it and everything. But later down the road, the time increased because the demand of perfection, so to say, got higher and higher. So it would take me up to 2 hours per picture. But now it's actually like, it's a mixture. Some pictures take me an hour, some take me 2, simply because of the fact that sometimes you're in a flow, you just take a picture, it really works, all the lines go parallel, like I like it, the symmetry is given, and it's just like so to say, like a lucky shot, if you want to call it like that. But it's also like, the more often you do it, the more used to it you get. And also the editing later on is like super easy, right? So working with Photoshop, GIMP, and all those different kind of tools, Visco and Facetune, all the tools you can use, those get really easy by the time. So I would say it's like 1 to 2 hours. It always depends on how difficult the actual shot is.
And is this your passion?
Absolutely. Well, so what I do on my Instagram channel is I combine different kinds of content, right? So I'm posting fashion flat lace, full body shots, and additionally I'm posting motivational quotes. And I would say the mixture of all three is my passion, because I really enjoy the motivational aspect. On Mondays, I post a motivational story on my Instagram story, so Motivational Monday. And I also really like this aspect, and this is probably like the part I'm most passionate about, because receiving a direct message of somebody telling you that you really inspired them, that's like the best feeling I ever got in my life. And it's like providing free value to others. Well, I would say that's my passion, motivating other people, just because I know and I strongly believe every time you put out value in the world, you will eventually get it back. It doesn't need to be monetary right now, but it will be later on in life.
And I love that, especially, you're 21 years old. A lot of the people in our audience are younger. And so many times they start a business and they focus on making money, and they don't realize that if you provide the value first and then put money as an afterthought, the money will eventually come in.
Exactly. That's so important. And like, I don't know why people tend to forget that. So some of the biggest influencers in the world, like most successful runners of companies, just to give some examples, Gary Vaynerchuk or Tai Lopez, you don't need to like them, but I'm just saying what they do is they provide lots and lots and lots of free content so that people actually trust them as a subject matter expert. And in the next step, they're clever enough to charge for monetary services. And because they are an established expert in that field and they provided free content, people already trust them because they already built up their brand image. So now the willingness to pay of their followers is given, right? So if I do motivational content and people find it very, very helping, I can one day, if I want to, maybe down the road, write a motivational book, and people are more willing, or an ebook, and people are more willing to pay for that because they're like, oh, we've already seen this guy, we already watched his motivational content, and we liked it. So, yeah, providing free value, I think, is one of the most important aspects. And especially nowadays, it's so easy. Like, you have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all those social media where you can just dish out content under your name. So what I do, for example, with my motivational quotes, they are brand labeled. I have my name underneath them, Arian, and then there's a / Instagram. So if people repost it or if people read it, just so the name really sticks in their mind and they read it over and over again. And that's also how you could do consistent branding and how you establish a corporate identity, right? So yeah, absolutely. To all those people who are starting a company, I'm not saying do everything for free because then you will be bankrupt, of course. But please always keep in mind that you have to provide value to others so that value is driven back to you.
And you think that by providing all this value, all this free value in the beginning, you gain that trust from the consumers to help you build your brand and eventually go back to them and say, hey, I have this product or service that you guys might want or buy.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. That's how it works in my opinion. Like posting free content, people will eventually be like, yeah, now he has something which I can pay for, and they will be happy to pay it, because they already like you so much, they follow you so much, that they're willing, they're waiting, so to say, for something that you put out, what they can buy for.
Arian, I wanted to ask you, how do you get such high engagement rates on each Instagram post that you make?
Right. So my theory, I mean, of course, you can never really pin down what it is. You can experiment, like see what it is. But as for me, I strongly believe, and that's also what the agencies tell me, which I'm working with. They tell me that I have a strong USP, a unique selling proposition. I do something that nobody else does. If you look at my Instagram feed, I don't want to come off as like cocky or anything, but it's something you don't see on any other page on Instagram. Of course, people do fashion flat lays. Of course, some do motivational content, but the linear combination of content which I'm providing is truly unique, and that's really what makes it stand out. Also, the fact that in each and every picture, I try to provide the best or the highest degree of quality I possibly can, because I always say quality is doing it right when nobody is watching. So that means those few people who really take a detailed look at the picture, they will see the little nuances or the little details I put into it, which can sometimes they might take me up like half an hour in Photoshop, and only 1% will see them, but these people will be even more engaged. So I think by providing very good content, my engagement rate is given like it is, but also the fact that I'm working with really prestigious brands such as Dom Pérignon, Montblanc, Tissot. I mean, if you have those kind of brands on your page, it's it's very likely because they're already established. They already bring the engagement with themselves, the engagement rates. So yeah, that's one aspect. And now with the full body shots, I try to maintain the high quality I put into my fashion flat lays, and yet again, high quality pays off. I don't want to be cocky yet again, but I think my fashion flat lays are my full body shots are extremely good. We work on high quality, and that's why they're already getting reposted up to 14, 15 times my best picture. It's like I'm doing those full body shots for a month. Not even a month. 22nd of December. It's not even a month. So I'm already getting reposted just as much as established bloggers who post full body shots for years and years. So yeah, I mean, quality is always king. That's social media. That's how social media works. Always keep that in mind.
So you have over 200,000 followers, and how have you been able to monetize it? How have you been able to make an income from that?
Right. So what you have with brands are different ways to collaborate, different ways to monetize your account. So if you really think about it, social media, first of all, for people who don't understand the general thought of it, social media is a way of advertising without any distractions. So if you have a television advertisement, let's be honest, the only time you really look at that focus is during Super Bowl, for example, right? But the beauty on social media is if you follow somebody you trust and whose work you like, there is no distraction because the advertisement is incorporated into the normal content that person is posting and that you're following, right? So authenticity is what it comes down to. And the next step, it's finding collaboration partners. So companies will pay me to expose their products and to advertise for them and to be seen with all those eyeballs, right? 230,000 followers. They can eventually drive back a lot of sales and monetary value for you and your brand. So that's one part they're paying for, and also the content creation I'm doing, which is really unique. So how it goes down is they will either pay me with only products. That's still sometimes happening. That happens more often when you're smaller. The bigger you get, the bigger is the likelihood that you will get paid with monetary value. Or they will pay you with a product and a monetary value on top. So they will say, here is this watch, and we'll pay you money on top. Or last but not least, they'll just pay you money for taking a picture, and I send back the product. Other things I can possibly advertise are, for example, my Instagram stories. So I could, for example, work with people who host an event, or hotels, or the travel industry. These are all possible ways to make money on social media.
What are the marketing costs associated for your Instagram?
That's a good question. I didn't have any for the longest time, to be honest. I invested in some shout outs here and there, tried out the market, but it has proven that the money I invest in there, I can just keep for myself, to be honest, and just reinvested time I'm using to look for a good page to shout me out. If I reinvest that time in posting one more picture or a better quality picture, the return is just higher, to be honest. The return on my time is way higher. So what I have now is what do I have? That's a good question. I think I'm signed up to 2 tools. One is Schedugram, where you can schedule your post, which I'm not really ever using. It's $10 monthly. And then it's Instagram, which is a free tool where you can automate targeted activities. I'm not using it too frequently, being fully honest with you, just because it is in the gray zone of the Instagram laws, because you're not really allowed to do automated activities. So some people use it, some don't. I'm still signed up on it, but the usage is very low. So yeah, it's $20 monthly. Plus maybe money I have to invest for taking a picture. So if I have a champagne from Dom Perignon and it's a white label, I might get some white flowers, and that's really it. So let it come down to $50 monthly, and that's all the expense I have. And that's really the beauty of social media. You can just start it without any investment, and that's like one of the strongest things. You can earn money all around the world nowadays without putting money up front. So you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Especially, people listening who are younger, they believe that you have to have a lot of money to start a business. They don't realize, especially with Instagram and social media the way it is, you can start a business for relatively next to nothing.
Absolutely. I could have started with absolutely nothing. And also, people always say, which camera are you using for your pictures? When I started, I used my iPhone 4, then I used my iPhone 5, and now I'm using my iPhone 6. I don't even have the 7, okay? So it's just excuses. People use that as excuses. They're like, oh, I don't have this and that resource. I don't have that and that money. But really, it's just excuse to why they're not just putting in work and getting shit done.
Let's say something happens to Instagram and it's no longer around. What would you do if you weren't on Instagram anymore?
Oh, I would just find other outlets to spread my message. So, of course, Instagram is a nice outlet, which I have now. But I would just find other ways to spread my message of motivating people. I would maybe use the knowledge I've gained throughout my time on Instagram and consult more companies, because that's something I'm doing part-time, sometimes for free, sometimes for money. So I could turn that into a business. But yeah, eventually, you will just find a way to express your passion, and that's what I would do too.
And if you don't mind me asking, are you in school or out of school?
I'm currently in my senior year. I have one more semester to go. I'm studying international management, and I did all this part-time next to university. And this is not me being cocky, but I'm studying at one of the hardest private universities in Germany. And I want to point out that it's possible for everybody. It doesn't matter how busy you are. If you want to make time for something, if it's an Instagram channel on the side, or if it's a company on the side, you can do that. It's just a matter of discipline, how disciplined you are. If you're disciplined enough, you will find a way to invest time into your big dream.
Do you happen to have any goals for your brand?
Well, as for my brand, what I always say is you want to have SMART goals, which you've probably heard of. So you want to have like a measurable goal, which makes sense and which is obtainable in like a certain amount of time frame. So eventually I want to have 1 million followers. I would say 1.5 years, or no, I will say 2 years from now. That will be my the goal I can put into like specific numbers. But being fully honest with you, this is a passion project for me. I never started to make money. I never started to have fame or whatever. And people who think that it's just sad. Or also like other people who do Instagram to get famous. It's like, I mean, I accept every people's opinion, but I think it's just sad to define yourself or your personality over numbers and followers on Instagram, because I think there's nothing less important. Of course, when it comes down to business, yes, you need followers. Yes, you need eyeballs, which you can monetize. Yes, you need all that. But for me personally, my goals with my Instagram channel is just to build up consistency, to post consistent value, which, consistent content which drives back value to my followers. And from then on, one day I will use my lessons learned, my learnings, and go maybe into a new company which I'll found to help others build up their presence on social media.
Let's say someone's, go back to the beginning when you were first starting your account. Let's say there's someone just like you out there who's thinking about starting their account. What advice would you give them?
Right. So this is something recently people... I would like to give you an example for this, right? So recently, a friend of mine, he reached out to me. He's saying weed might get legalized in Germany very soon. So he wants to run a big weed page where he can eventually advertise for his own weed company and whatnot. I'm personally not a fan or a supporter of weed. I will just use this as a case example, right? So what I first analyze the market. What do you have on the market? See what other big weed pages there are and what makes them successful or what makes them not successful, right? First, you'll look in the weed industry on Instagram. Then you will expand and you will look into maybe like luxury, good life, and all those kind of content. And you will see what's working there and what can you adapt to your niche. That being said, I figured good life content on Instagram or aesthetically pleasing content on Instagram performs very, very well. From that point on, I said, why don't you make a good life page or some sort of page as tasty, which you can see on Facebook, and combine that with weed content? Because if you really think about it, weed has a big followership and a lot of supporters. So good content on Instagram and fast-growing content on Instagram is very shareable content. So what you want to do is if you post weed content, make it very shareable. How is content very shareable? It's either you have an emotional connection to it, you have a wow effect, or you have a surprise effect, meaning that you take a look at a picture and then you get surprised by the eventual outcome of the picture. So let's say you see a person sitting in a wheelchair, and then you see the shadow of that person running at the wall behind, but the shadow is standing, right? That would be like a surprise effect. You'd be like double think and like, oh, this really make me think, right? So you want to have shareable content, and with weed, it's very easy to have this wow effect, right? You will have those massive amount of weeds, or you will have a gold foil for your weed or your blunt or whatever, and that will really make it shareable. You will be like, tag a friend who you would smoke this joint with or whatever. I'm really getting comfortable talking about this topic because like I really don't like weed, but nevertheless. So you want to first analyze the market. You want to then find opportunities and see how you can make your content most shareable, so that you can later on grow faster. And the next step is engage in consistent action, which means do that work for like 30 days or 60 days of a month so you can actually see what's happening, right? Because a lot of people, they post like for a week and they're like, oh, we're not getting any followers. Let's call this project unsuccessful. But really a successful project would be posting content for 60 days and then afterwards analyzing what worked and what did not work. So for example, you can analyze the hashtag performances. Did posts with hashtags perform way better than without? Which hashtags triggered well? Which kind of content? Which kind of filters? Which kind of shots? Right? All those things you can only analyze if you engage in consistent action. So that's my tips. First, get knowledge, then build a strategy, and then execute the strategy. Knowledge, strategy, execution. That's always how you start off with something new. You can also, of course, like jump into it and just have fun with it. And trust me, that will also work. But if you want to have the fastest way, please take the one way I've just described beforehand.
Arian, I wanted to say this interview has been excellent so far. And now we're going to enter the Lions round. We're just going to ask you a couple quick questions before we end the show today.
Sure. I'm stoked.
What would you say to someone who's just starting out and going after their dream?
Never get distracted. Follow your dream, follow your passion, and don't listen to people who doubt your abilities.
Do you happen to have 2 or 3 books that you'd recommend for our audience to read?
I could recommend a million, but I think the most important ones is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a classy that's very important. I'll just name them. Second, Think Smart, Grow Rich. Third one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's 3 very common, known ones, but these are the ones which I can recommend the most.
And for anyone in our audience who's listening and would like any of the books that Arian just mentioned, you can go to audibletrial.com/BTL and get your free book. And Arian, last question of the day. Where can our audience find you?
The audience can find me on Instagram, of course, under the username Arian, which is spelled ARIAN_NEY. I'm there, and you can direct message me, and I always respond to everybody who direct messages me. So if you want to get tips and tricks there, I will help you. And as for business purposes, if you want to work with me, my email address is info@ariannay.com.
And Arian, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time today to speak with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope I could help some of you, and even if it's just one person, I did my job, and that's all I want.
Thanks for listening to Become the Lion. Everything from today's show will be in our show notes on our website. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Till next week, don't stop grinding.